The Joe Rogan Experience.
Madagascar was a little bit different. Madagascar was a beautiful country, but down south it's very impoverished. People suffering with malnutrition. Malaria is big out there because I caught malaria, almost died from it.
You caught malaria?
I caught malaria, yeah.
So you weren't on malaria medication either?
I was on malaria medication. I came across a community that had suffering with bubonic plague, such an ancient disease. And they pretty much said, I had 2 guides with me at this time, so they were able to translate. They pretty much said, stay in your tent. We've had relatives die. We're suffering with the plague here. That instantly made me feel nervy, on edge, There's rats and dogs running around you. And you're like, go away. Zipped in. So they would do the cooking and they brought me this eel. Smelled a little bit funky, but we were hungry. Me and my 2 guides, we eat the eel. And for the next few days, we were suffering with diarrhea. And I believe that the anti-malarial pills, they only cover you up to 80% anyway. It was going in one way, out the other. And I didn't have the full 80% protecting me from the strain of malaria. I caught malaria, and it threw me back to the Gobi Desert, to the symptoms and signs I was suffering with. I felt like I was just suffering with dehydration, and I was getting weaker and weaker. I was losing a lot of weight. I was vomiting, and it got to a point where days went by that I was like, "This isn't dehydration. This is a disease. I'm suffering with something bad." I pushed on, made it to a community that I knew had overland transport.
How far did you walk with malaria?
I think I probably walked 4 days or so with malaria.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it was brutal.
Oh.
But at that time, I had no idea, right? So I'm dehydrated. So I was just drinking, thinking I'm going to get better soon. Made it to the community. Arrived at one of the nearest hospitals, and she said you potentially made it in time, potentially a few hours before you slipped into a coma. And that's when I realised, and then it was the deadliest strain of malaria. It's falciparum, so you've got 4 different strains of malaria. You've got the deadliest, and it usually kills you within 24 hours. But I believe I lasted 5 days because I was taking the anti-malarials. And then that one you can eradicate fully out of your system.
Now, when you're on the anti-malaria medication and you're shitting yourself so it doesn't stay in your system, are you taking more of it when you think you have it?
No, I wasn't. I was scared to as well overdose because you don't know how much is still in your system, so you can't just be taking.
How much are you allowed to take of it?
One pill a day it was. So
See,
have your breakfast.
That's what Justin Wren was saying, that he experienced toxicity because he was taking 5 pills a day. Remember when Justin was talking about that?
Of the anti-malarial doxycycline.
We actually researched that there's been problems with some troops that get on that anti-malaria medication and they get really sick from it.
Yeah.
And it actually, doesn't it do something to your brain? Jimmy,
yeah,
do you remember?
I think that's the Malarone that you're talking about. Yeah, that's like a stronger dose, isn't it?
What stuff are you on? What anti-malaria?
I was on doxycycline. So that's 80%. I think the Malarone. How do I say it?
How do you say it?
Malarone. Malarone covers you about 100%. I think my dad was on that.
Is that how I say it?
Mefloquine was
Mefloquine. That's
right.
right.
So that's a different one.
That's
then.
right.
So what's this? What, a stronger strain?
I don't know, but he was on it, and he's gotten it. Justin, he runs a charity called Fight for the Forgotten. They build wells for the pygmies. And he's gotten it 3 times.
Whoa. Yeah, and what strain is that? Is that
maybe that wasn't the one.
Yeah, that was it, man.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, that was it.
Here it is.
Yeah, I remember him talking about it.
Because the 3 lower strains, you can actually remain dormant in your system. That's
what they said with him. He got it again after he had it. Malaria drug causes brain damage that mimics PTSD. Man. Fucking A. Malaria drug. The drug.
Yeah, that's insane.
Not even just the malaria, which will fucking kill you.
I've heard of that before. Yeah, I have heard of that before. So I partnered up with Malaria No More UK after that. Because once I'd contracted it, I was the lucky one to survive. And then as I pushed on, still had 4 months to go. I got it in month 1 of a 5-month journey to walk to walk south to north of Madagascar, summit to the 8 highest mountains along the way. So it took 155 days, this journey did. And it was 1,600 miles, slightly bigger than the Mongolia journey. And a lot of it was just machete in hand, hacking through the jungle, leeches dropping down, spider bites, hunting, gathering.
You were hunting and gathering out there too?
Yeah, in the jungle, yeah.
How do you know what you can gather?
The local. So I have no military background at all doing this, which is usually strange. It's normally a military background to come in to do the survival. But everything that I've learned, I've tried to get as much knowledge as I possibly can from the locals. So like the Myanmar Hill community, Mongolia, how they survive, Madagascar, what's edible, what isn't edible, how to build rafts, etc. So I always try to take a small percent, and that's all you can ever take because they're so knowledgeable when it
Right.
comes to what they can eat, what they can gather, what they can't. You know, it's a lifetime, isn't it? So I just had to try to pick up as much as I could in a short space of time. But again, I was learning as we went. We were, doing some hunting, doing some gathering, but we were losing weight. Yeah, there was 3 or 4 weeks of jungle territory further up north of the island, and we had a photographer join us for that one. And it got to a point where they just hated it. I did too. It was the cyclone season. We were walking about 14 hours a day, and we would cover maybe 3 miles if we were lucky. Just hacking through a sheer dense jungle, up and down mountains. One day we had to turn around and do a U-turn and walk 3 days back on ourselves to find a different way up the mountain.
No.
Horrible. It puts into perspective now when you do a U-turn in a car. I'm like, right, it's just a U-turn.